Coming up next, though, is the best of, right, Andy? We've got the best of Zoe Williams. I told you, Zoe is always bringing that fire, and whatever it is tonight that he's talking about, that I kind of put my foot in my mouth last night when I was talking about his topics. It was fun, though. It was fun. Y'all laughed.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Monday. I'm Mike Moore here on the Black Information Network. In Mississippi, Black Spring Break weekend ended on Sunday with several people being injured by gunfire, including a Biloxi police officer. Investigators say a total of 5 people were wounded when shots rang out near Surf Style along Highway 90 in Biloxi. Witnesses reported at least 10 shots from multiple areas during the exchange. Evacuation orders put in place days ago for residents affected by a recycling plant fire in Richmond, Indiana, have been lifted. The announcement came Sunday following last week's toxic blaze, which sent thick black smoke over the area. The mandatory orders had applied to residents within a half mile of that plant. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Looking for a late-night spot to get the crew together? 3 words, Buffalo Wild Wings. They've got drinks and apps starting at $4 from 10 p.m. till close. B-Dubs, where late-night food and drinks start at $4. Cheers to that. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void or prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
Need an accident attorney by your side? All you got to do is call the Accident Guys.
Injured in a car accident or at work? Call the Accident Guys. Because unlike other firms, an attorney will negotiate your case, not a paralegal.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very impressive debut in the NBA playoffs for the Lakers and Clippers. The Lakers win by 16 at Memphis. The Clippers hold on for a 5-point win in Phoenix. 4 Laker players scored 20 or more. Rui Hachimura had 29 off the bench. John Moran suffered a serious injury to his right hand when he fell hard to the floor on a drive to the basket. Moran is doubtful for Game 2 Wednesday night. Tip-off at 4:30 on TNT. The Clippers get 38 from Kawhi Leonard to hold off Phoenix. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 block shots, 2 steals, and 5 offensive rebounds. Game 2 for the Clippers and Phoenix is Tuesday at 7 on TNT. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Stand up and fight! When news breaks, you can count on KBLA Talk 1580 for exclusive interviews.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Incredibly delighted to welcome Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson. Brother, welcome to the show.
As Tennesseans, as Americans, as people of conscience, our responsibility is to get proximate to this movement. This is the moment. Folks always wonder, is this time for me to start using my voice for speaking up, for advocating for issues? This is it.
This is it.
The present moment where we are seeing the erosion of democracy, where we're seeing duly elected officials being expelled because we're raising the issue about the need to end gun violence and protect communities. And so for everyone who has ever had a thought that I need to do something, I need to be engaged, this is the moment to transform our cities, our counties, our states, and the United States of America.
Weekdays, weekends. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for the conversations that matter most to you. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not doing serious. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. task. Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. With hopes that black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the move. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it started, getting it going on a Monday. I like to call it a mindful Monday. You know what we do. Hour 1, we look to the local and all things adjacent. Hour 2, we unpack the national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive with a person of interest or a topic of interest. Today, it's my recurring series, My Opinionated Friends Take on Relationships, and we'll be talking with an opinionated friend, actually in this case, who I've never met before, but she is an author. So we want to make sure that we don't just, even though we're so active in the political space, just forget all about our interpersonal relationships. So we shall tackle that with Sherry Syfax, and that should be quite interesting. Joining me this morning, it is my honor and my pleasure to have as my partner in politics today, somebody who's very passionate about his social activism and proclaims a theology open and accessible to all. He's a third-generation pastor who serves the historic McCarty Memorial Christian Church. Pastor Eddie Anderson, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Yeah, good to have you here. So much going on. I can't wait to hear your take. And of course, family, you are invited into the conversation. It is a dialogue, not a monologue. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. That's the number. Call me anytime, every hour. So, man, I like to start with what's good. And sometimes it seems a little bit more of a stretch to find it, but there's always good stuff going on, right? We just don't always focus on it. I think the fact that the mayor of Los Angeles has agreed to sit down with the activists behind the people's budget and go over the results, I think that's a good thing.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. People's budget's been around for a couple of years. We started it back and before the pandemic, actually. And it's putting forth a care first budget. And so I would say to that point, the LA Times has an article today, and they've been running articles around the LAPD and how the staffing numbers for the LAPD has been declining. It didn't start with Mayor Bass, but it could continue under Mayor Bass. And so the argument in City Hall is, what do we do? Do we spend more money to hire more police officers, or do alternatives to incarceration? Do we do care first? Do we invest in mental health and wellness? And the People's Budget LA says clearly the people of Los Angeles wants us to invest in mental health, wants us to invest in making sure that public safety is lifted up in other ways. So how do we make sure we have trauma centers? How do you make sure we have first responders that don't carry weapons, that can respond to people who are dealing with houselessness or mental health issues on the street? How do we make sure that make sure our fire departments and libraries are up to par, right? That's what People Budget LA is telling us that we should be able to do. And with this decision that the mayor has to make and the city has to make around what to do with the budget, whether to hire more officers or to invest it otherwise, I think the People's Budget is a great way to start that conversation. And if you haven't taken a survey, shameless plug, you should go take it.
Yeah, actually, it's peoplesbudgetla.com/survey. Peoplesbudgetla.com/survey. It doesn't take very long. It'll take you, maybe 5-10 minutes to fill it out. And it's good, especially now that we know the mayor is going to be looking at the results. And this is, to your point, Pastor Anderson, this is where people can really sign off on what do you think we should be spending on, not just police or fire, but it goes down a list of many, many different things and asks you how big of a priority is this for you?
Absolutely, and so things like housing, right? Like everyone knows we have a housing shortage in Los Angeles, but we also need to talk about how do we build affordable housing? How do we make sure that we are making units that are preserving housing, so units that are on the market that are not being used? How do we make sure that those become affordable units as well? How do we think about what is the correct response to our social problems in our city? And People's Budget LA allows you to go deeper and say what the priority is. I believe every year we've done it, most people have said that the police budget is way too big. Right now, 50% of the budget. That it should be way less than that, closer to probably like 25 or 30%, if that.
Yeah, well, you brought up the, and it's interesting too, you brought up the LA Times focusing on the number of police that the city has, which I guess under Villaraigosa reached some peak of 10,000, which is like a mythical number that for some reason, has some resonance for people. And now it says we're down in the low 9,000s. And the mayor has said she would like to get the number of officers up to 9,500. Meanwhile, there are some people saying, well, look, the LAPD has defunded itself by all these people retiring, quitting. Not all of them retired. A lot of them have actually just said, peace out. And I think what happens is they get that good LAPD training, good with air quotes, respected in the industry. And then they go to other departments. They go to smaller departments or whatever they do. It's a tough quandary because on the one hand, you could say, well, they've already cut their budgeting by exiting the building. So rather than staffing them back up, maybe we should get more mental health folks to respond to these calls. Maybe we should. But on the other hand, the numbers historically are low.
Yeah. I'm wearing a jacket with Dr. King and Malcolm X on it. So let me just be clear that I am against the militarization of our society, especially our police departments, and that since 1980 we have seen an increased militarization of departments across the board, especially local departments. With that being said, I would say there are constructive ways in which we can solve this problem. It does not mean that you need to hire a whole bunch of police officers. I think you can shift some, right? We have some officers that are desk agents you can put onto the street. We also have bills right now, motions that are going through city council. So about 4 years ago, the communities rose up and said, stop the stops, let's push LA. Marquise Harris Dawson and Mike Bonin at the time put forward a motion to take police out of traffic stops because we know that 90% of the traffic stops are pretextual in that they end up in dire situations for black and brown folks that they don't necessarily need to be in. And so you can shift some of that to the LADOT, right? That's a motion.
Department of Transportation.
Yeah. That's a motion that is alive and well right now that the city can take action on. They've done study on it. The Department of Transportation is presenting to City Council its findings in a couple of weeks, right? So that's one way to look at how do we shift this situation. The other thing is that people are retiring, right? And so there's no way that you can keep up with the attrition rate, I don't think, because even if you hire more police officers, you're going to have another round of police officers that are retiring in the same instance. And so you can't really game for how that works out, but you can game for what does public safety look like and respond to what folks on the ground are saying can be done. So this also means Circle, right? Circle's another program that the city has. It has like 2 people in it, right? It's supposed to be like the unarmed response. And there's another article a couple of weeks ago about how folks who are mental health providers and also like over our homelessness, housing, transitional housing departments, houses, they have called the 988. Everyone heard about that, and it takes hours. So then like, what's the point of calling, right?
Right. 988 is supposed to be emergency response for mental health. So you don't have to call the police and, have someone respond who doesn't have the expertise to deal with someone having a mental health crisis. Pastor Eddie Anderson is my partner in politics this morning. Of course, when we come forward, I want to talk about a lot of things. Of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell is one. Mayor Karen Bass delivering her first State of the City address tonight. That and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
1455 Frazee Road, Suite 1050, San Diego, California, 92108. CordellCordell.com.
Periods don't care what you're doing, but your pad should. Get Always Triple Protection System in Always Day and Night Pads. Always Day Pads protect when active by wicking away gushes 2 times faster than leading store brands and giving us up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort. When we size up our pad at night, we get the same triple protection, plus up to 75% more coverage in the back for when we're laying down. No matter what, Always has you covered, day and night.
Nerds. Here at NerdWallet, we often see people struggle with financial decisions, like with Helen. Hey, Helen.
Hello.
Helen, you're all over the place.
I'm trying to pick a rewards credit card, and I've ended up, well, everywhere.
With NerdWallet, you don't have to feel all over the place. NerdWallet has side-by-side comparisons of top credit cards. So whether you need a card for groceries or travel, the smartest card for you is right there.
Wow. Now I'm in one place with the right travel rewards card. Nice.
Nice indeed. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
The clock is ticking, and there's just a few days left before God's Trying to Tell You Something comes to town.
We interrupt this program to bring you this special report. The 2 p.m. performance of God's Trying to Tell You Something is sold out.
That's the bad news. The good news is there's one last performance. Saturday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Wilshire Ebell Theater.
Get your tickets now
and be in the house.
See what everybody's talking about.
All remaining seats only $50.
But hurry before they sell out again.
Tickets on sale now at eventbrite.com and godstryingtotellyousomething.com.
It's a night of theater you'll never forget.
It's God's Trying to Tell You Something.
Be a part of the live studio audience.
God, He's trying to tell you something.
Don't miss it.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now. Got a lot of stuff to cover here locally, and it always seems to resonate with the national stories as well. We found out late last week, that the district attorney, George Gascon, will not bring charges in the case of Andres Guardado. Guardado is a young man, a teenager actually, who was working as uncertified security guard and was shot by sheriff's deputies in what was a terrible shooting, and also seemed very suspicious because he was right near Gardena. He was right. Mm-hmm. He wasn't really even in the sheriff's jurisdiction to be shooting him. But the DA is saying they just don't have the evidence. There's no videotape. There's no witnesses.
Yeah, I remember, I think this is a hard one. I remember when George Gascon got elected, he had a meeting in the basement of the church with mothers who lost their children who have been killed by police officers or the sheriff's department. And one of the promises he made in that meeting was that he would review these cases and try to prosecute the cops that were involved in these killings. And Andres Guardado was one of those cases. it's been one that I think has really highlighted the ways in which the sheriff department has been harmful to our community. And so I pray for Andres' family. I know his dad is a cook and with member reuniting here at Local 11. So I pray for them because, for activists and for all of us, we continue the fight and we put all our heart and soul in it. But for families, the nightmare continues daily. And so I pray for them.
And I guess it seems more jarring because the two cops, the two sheriff's deputies who killed him, one is Miguel Vega. I'm trying to find the name of the other one. I can't remember his name right now. Chris Hernandez. They were recently, I think it was like a month ago, they were involved in another case where they allegedly violated the civil rights of a skateboarder. So it seems like, well, they've got this bad track record. It should be easy, but the DA says without the witnesses and without the footage, they don't think they can win the case.
That's true. But I do wonder, we passed SB2 a couple of years ago. So I wonder if, because we know that they continue to violate our people, if they can be decertified. I don't know how that really works, but that's the question.
Yeah, well, it is a good question because that's that was the Steve Bradford bill, right?
Absolutely.
The police decertification bill that I voted for.
Me too.
And, it amazes me how Senator Bradford is just like, okay, I'll just, he seems pretty fearless when it comes to putting out bills that some other lawmakers would be, careful about, and then he'll do it again. If it doesn't win the first time, he'll bring it back again.
Absolutely. I think it's like standing by the courage of your conviction and realizing that, you're here for the people. And so, you got to make sure you're protected, especially, I know law enforcement is a big lobby. The Police Protective League is a big lobby. But if you don't take their money and stand up for your folks, I believe in due season, you will get what you need.
Okay. Well, both of those particular sheriffs are facing a federal civil rights case, so they may end up having some consequences, but it's not coming through the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, at least not at this time. Meanwhile, the family of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell and Black Lives Matter LA are going to, and along with the lawyers from PLC Law Group, they're going to They are going to be having a press conference today regarding Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, who was killed by Torrance police officers Anthony Chavez and Matthew Concannon while he was sitting in a car in a Ralph's grocery store parking lot. Then 15 seconds of them pulling up. This is a situation where Black Lives Matter LA and the family of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell have been going to the Torrance city council meetings every week for years.
Yeah.
Literally for years. And now charges are being brought.
Absolutely. And I think two things here. One is we always say in the movement, when we fight, we win. And we haven't won the entire case, and justice will look like Christopher being with us. But when you do fight, you keep the pressure on, then you get accountability. And this is the power of direct action, I think. And this is the direct response to folks in BLMLA and the family not letting their son and not letting our ancestor now be forgotten. And Torrance Police Department, we know they have a whole host of problems. It's the same police department that was recruiting basic racists and white supremacists to be a part of their department, and had N-words in their text messages, and we're trying to help the January 6th folks. So we know that there is not just implicit bias, but explicit bias in that department. And so I think it's time, and I'm glad that they are bringing this case up, and that hopefully the family get their day in court.
So in case you want to go, the press conference is today at the LA Criminal Courts Building, downtown 210 West Temple. It starts at 11 a.m. And Christopher DeAndre Mitchell's mother, Sherilyn Haynes, will be there, along with our own Dr. Melina Abdullah, Sheila Bates, and and Nashawn Neal from the PLC Law Group, so along with community organizers and stuff. This was December 9th, 2018, so they've been protesting almost every week since then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And shout out to local organizer Sheila Bates she's been holding that space down and bringing folks to those hearings and meetings. And I know I made a phone call or two into Torrance around, and all of us I think have around, hey, let's focus on this case and this issue. Don't let it go away. So.
Yeah, that was another tragic situation. Mayor Bass will release her budget. In that's, what we were talking about. Well, how much do you spend on cops? How much do you spend on a care first approach? How big of a chunk goes to getting unhoused folks inside? Because that's been a major commitment of hers. We will, at the same time, be having her State of the City address tonight. That's this evening at 5:30. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on the city's channel 35 or on Facebook or Twitter at Mayor of LA, starting at 5:30. She's got to really thread a needle here, I think. I mean, on the one hand, she really has strong, robust support from progressives. Not all of them. There's plenty of folks that are further to the left or radical side who feel who did not like her sort of compromise from day one as far as supporting police, but also supporting communities in alternatives to policing. She's already said she wants these 9,500 cops. She's got the budget coming out, and I imagine there's a certain amount of pushback that's on the way.
Absolutely.
From activists. So what do you want to hear, and what do you expect to hear?
I think my lens starts with Dr. King once said that budgets are moral documents. And so I think we should hear what the priorities are. So what I want to hear is, one, I think the biggest issue, the moral crisis of our time, is that it's houselessness, it's homelessness. That too many Angelenos go to bed at night on the street. That 5 Angelenos every morning we know for sure are going to die on the streets. And we have to really talk about prevention, talk about housing. So that's mental health, that's wraparound services, that's caseworkers, that's outreach workers. So a lion's share of the budget should be towards that. The other place that I'm interested to see is what are we doing about our county department? So we have a civil rights and human civil rights division, and so how much are we putting towards equity in repairing the harms in LA? So I know there's some grants that the Capri Maddox and David Price and Ronell and others in that department have been putting forward. So how are we dealing with that? And then how are we taking care of our seniors? I know our seniors, my members at the church, they remind me that the Senior Federation, they need help. And so how are we making sure that they still have food and that we are doing our departments of aging, that we're still supplying food to folks. I also want to hear a little bit about how are we getting our streets up to par. I don't know about you, but driving down LA streets is like driving on Mars. It's like craters and, all these potholes.
Yeah, ever since the rain. I mean, that heavy rain, it's been like scary out there, especially for those of us who have, not Hummers.
Yeah.
It's like smaller, normal cars.
Normal cars. It's like, so I want to hear how are we funding those departments, and then also public safety. What are the priorities? How are we doing? What are we thinking differently, right? It's one thing to say we're going to have a public safety department, one thing to say we're going to do our terms of incarceration, but time and time again, we have heard great policies, promises, and reports, and little to no action. So how are we funding grid workers? How are we funding gang intervention workers? How are we funding the non-violent responses to problems? And then what are we doing about the police, right? We can't avoid it, right? We have to talk about how are we going to handle that situation. Do we continue the scale back and right sizing of the police department, or do we continue to hire? So what is the line in the sand with the police department, and then what is the offering to community? I want to hear that as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. To me, when you talk about funding the police or defunding the police, I know a lot of people don't like the slogan, but it's really about prioritizing where your spending is going. So if, for example, you talk about militarization, this is a big concern for me too. Let's take the robot dogs and the AI and all of the emphasis on drones. Let's pull that back, claw those dollars back, and you could use those to hire the police officers that you want to hire without increasing the budget. It's not an ever expanding dollar amount. It has to be about what is most important and what is your budget saying about your priorities. Eddie Anderson, the pastor of McCarty Memorial Church, senior pastor, is here with me, and you're welcome in 800-920-1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden is instructing the Department of Defense to limit the distribution of sensitive information. It comes after the alleged leaking of classified documents on the internet by Massachusetts National Guard member Jack Teixeira, who was arrested last week. The 21-year-old remains in federal custody pending a court hearing on Wednesday. Morgan Freeman is reiterating his views on race relations. During an interview with the Sunday Times, the actor, who is black, said there are two things he publicly doesn't like: Black History Month and the term African American. He calls both an insult, asking why his race is relegated to 1 month, and added he doesn't subscribe to the term African American. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Looking for a late night spot to get the crew together? 3 words: Buffalo Wild Wings. They've got drinks and apps starting at $4 from 10 p.m. till close. B-dubs, where late night food and drinks start at $4. Cheers to that. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void or prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very impressive debut in the NBA playoffs for the Lakers and Clippers. The Lakers win by 16 at Memphis. The Clippers hold on for a 5-point win in Phoenix. 4 Laker players scored 20 or more. Rui Hachimura had 29 off the bench. John Moran suffered a serious injury to his right hand when he fell hard to the floor on a drive to the basket. Moran is doubtful for Game 2 Wednesday night. Tip-off at 4:30 on TNT. The Clippers get 38 from Kawhi Leonard to hold off Phoenix. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 block shots, 2 steals, and 5 offensive rebounds. Game 2 for the Clippers and Phoenix is Tuesday at 7 on TNT. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm young, gifted, and black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. It's normal. With CalHope's free and secure mental health resources, it's easy to get the help you and your loved ones need when you need it the most. Call our warm line at 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org today.
Let's get back to business, Los Angeles County. The Economic Opportunity Grant Program is now open. This program is designed to provide financial support to qualified small businesses, micro-entrepreneurs, food industry businesses such as restaurants, and nonprofits in Los Angeles County. Approximately 4,600 grants of up to $2,500 will be administered to qualified micro-businesses that face barriers to accessing capital resources. To learn more about the Economic Opportunity Grant Program, visit www.grants.lacounty.gov. The application process is fast and easy. Don't miss the opportunity to get back to business. This program is administered by the County of Los Angeles through its Department of Economic Opportunity and funded in part through a grant from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Application portal is powered by Lendistry. Visit www.grants.lacounty.gov and get back to business.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take. And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Pastor Eddie Anderson is my partner in politics today, and you can find him on all these different various social media platforms at, go ahead.
Instagram is Eddie L. Anderson. On Twitter, it's Pastor Eddie A.
And then, of course, McCarty Connects.
Absolutely, McCarty Connect.
For the church itself, it's everywhere. And you can find me at DiPrima Radio. That's DiPrima, and then radio. Please like, follow, subscribe. I'm even on YouTube. And then there is KBLA 1580, where we are streaming right now. If you want to see me and Pastor Eddie, all you have to do, well, if you open up the app on your phone, there's a little button at the bottom that says KBLA TV. That'll take you right there. Or just go to YouTube and type in KBLA 1580. We were talking before the show about this child who was killed by police. And I think it's, again, it's the resonance of what's happening here at home, along with the continued bad news on, nationally, as far as the killing of black people, especially black young men. There's protesting going on. This kid, Ralph Yarl, went to the wrong house to pick up his little brothers in Kansas City, Missouri, and he was shot by the homeowner. Shot in the head, shot in the arm. It's crazy to me because the guy was in his house, and so they'll probably try to say stand your ground, but the kid knocked on the door. He didn't have to open the door. He could have just kept the door closed and stayed in the house.
Yeah, I mean, it perplexes me how much white supremacy and I would even say toxic masculinity and patriarchy influence the decisions of folks and dehumanize, especially people who look like me, right?
Yeah.
Black men in our society. I'm lost for words a little bit because, when I grew up, if someone came to my door, we just kept the door locked, right? We just wouldn't open it, right? You don't have to shoot a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah. And the thing about it is the crazy thing is that this child lived, right?
Yeah.
He's still alive. He's listed in stable condition, which I don't know how after being shot in the head, shot in the arm. It's definitely going to change his life. And there is a GoFundMe and all that. But I think, again, you see people marching, and again, you'll see a lot of folks justifying what this homeowner did. But again, aside from, just lock the door, you can also call the police and let them handle it. Not that that's ideal, but it's better than just shooting on sight. Yeah. This is a case where you can guarantee that had the child been white, he would not have been shot.
Absolutely. And, yesterday I was participating in a program commemorating the letter from the Birmingham jail. And one thing that stuck out for me from Dr. King was he was appalled by the silence of white moderates. He was appalled by the silence of the church. Disappointed, he says. But he also was very much calling out police brutality, segregation, And this whole notion that white supremacy loves to have a monologue with itself and not a dialogue with community. And I think this is another instance of the monologue says, and you think about what's going on in Florida with Tim Tanner, critical race theory, right? Like, it's a monologue with yourself around, like, we are this white superiority situation, that we can take black life and without consequence because we continue to do it, and we continue to have that conversation with ourselves that says it's okay. And that is a sin, that is wrong, that is evil, and quite frankly, it's very American, but it's not the America we want to live in.
Yeah, it's not the America we're building. It just, I had to mention it because it resonates with what we're dealing with today with Andres Guardado and even Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, who is 23, but still a very young person, you know, with their whole life ahead of them. And this young man was, you know, played the bass clarinet. He was a STEM student. You think about the trauma to him, and then to the two little brothers who are tiny. You know, I don't know how old they are, but they look to be about 6.
Yeah.
You know, 5 and 6, and the mental and emotional trauma that they're going to have to deal with. It's just,
this is gun violence, right? We can't let that go away. This is gun violence. This is policy violence. This is one of the reasons why, if we don't get our act together, as Dr. King said, America may just go to hell.
2 former Whittier police detectives are charged with using unnecessary force when they shot at an unarmed, mentally ill man who was running away from them, according to District Attorney George Gascon. The case, 2 officers from the Whittier Police Department, while they don't work there anymore, they are also facing charges in the shooting of this mentally ill person. They were plainclothes. They were in an unmarked car. And the DA says they should not have used deadly forces. They're each facing 4 charges for the shooting.
I'm glad. I mean, Dominique, I think we should take a moment just to realize that prior to 2020, we did not hear about officers actually being prosecuted as much. I don't think. I didn't.
If you look at, you know, the record of DA Jackie Lacey, I mean, it's not at all. They could be charged if they did something off duty, like drinking or shooting someone, but not in commission of their work.
Yeah. So I think that's the community. We won't win every case, but the fact that officers know that there's a DA that will prosecute or investigate them, I think that's a culture shift. And I think it's probably also why you can push back. But I think that's also a response to protests. We've put our bodies on the line.
I agree.
And so I think that's the beauty of the beautiful struggle.
I think it's important to remember that, too, because we like to say, oh, the protesting is over, everyone, it all flopped. No, we're still seeing the results. And the reason people are always attacking Gascon, sure, he has his, you know, he has things he could work on. But one of the reasons is because he's trying to enact the agenda that we, the people, asked him to enact.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think this is for everyone who's listening, who's an activist or has been a part of those protests. Your labor was not in vain. These are the impacts of it, that officers are now being prosecuted and that people are being held accountable, are starting to be held accountable. We haven't got all the judgments we want, but I think that if this continues, there will be a thought in people's minds before they violate the human rights of people, especially black and brown folks.
In this particular case, the police say they were looking for a woman who stole a TV out of a Target store. And the guy was in a car, supposedly, the guy was allegedly in a car with a woman, and then he got out and run, and they shoot him dead. But your suspect that you're supposed to be looking for is a woman.
Yeah.
So why are you chasing and shooting and killing a man? That was one of the points that D.A. Gascon made. Because it's always, we were looking for someone that looked just like you, except how can they look just like me if they weren't even the same gender?
Right.
Problematic. It is a Mindful Monday, Pastor Eddie Anderson. This is where we talk with Sahara Ali. She's a numerologist, astrologer, life coach, yoga teacher, meditation instructor, and we try to get our minds right. Do you do any kind of mindfulness practice? Do you advocate that, or are you one of these pastors who thinks anything outside of just praying in church is problematic or potentially evil?
Oh, no. I believe you got to pray and go to therapy. You got to pray and meditate. You got to pray and do yoga. And all of that is prayer. And so do I do my meditation? Yeah. Every morning I wake up at 6 a.m. So if I wasn't here with you, I would be at home, and I do 3 things. One, I do a morning affirmation. And then I do focus on my breath work because for all the religious folks out there, the breath that you have is a breath from God. And so I'm thankful for that breath. And I usually do an intention meditation, right? Making sure that I'm in my body and that I'm aware of what's going around. And then I read scripture and pray. That's how I start my day.
Every day.
Every day. Wow. Otherwise, you may catch me on the wrong day, and I wouldn't be as grounded as God wants me to be. So I encourage everyone to meditate. And one thing that I love is there's a scripture, one of our favorite Psalms says, "Deep cries out to deep." Well, you can't go deep if you're not willing to be centered.
That is kind of deep. Pastor Eddie Anderson is my partner in politics this morning. I want to get your quick take. I know you're married and all that. I want to get your quick take because we're doing the relationship thing today. Maybe you can save us in that lane as well. I don't know. Some of us might be beyond salvation, but keep hope alive. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
The FAA will be hiring air traffic controllers soon. Applications open June 24th through June 27th. If you know someone between the ages of 18 and 30 who might be interested, please tell them to go to www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply today. The salary range is $103,000 to $164,000. There's also paid training and school. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply to be an air traffic controller. This community call to action is brought to you by the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals and KBLA Talk 1580.
15 million California Medi-Cal enrollees to have eligibility status reviewed starting this month. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry, story courtesy of CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Pay attention to your Medi-Cal notices in the mail. As of April 2023, California has 14 months to review the eligibility of 15 million Medi-Cal enrollees after suspending this process throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. An estimated 2 to 3 million Californians may leave the program during this unwinding period. It is critical that enrollees watch out for notifications from local Medi-Cal offices. If you receive a yellow envelope, that means contact information or pertinent information to keep your coverage is missing.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune into KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to a lunch for 10, brought to you by the Original Taco Pete's. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA 1580 to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week, sponsored by the Original Taco Pete's, a black-owned restaurant. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
I know it's gonna happen without you.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
So if you're on YouTube watching, you're probably thinking, oh, Pastor Eddie Anderson, he's so young. How could he be the senior pastor of McCarty Memorial Church? Well, he is, and I love that. You know, some new generations coming in. He comes in here looking like a rock star, but and or protester, but he is the senior pastor at McCarty Memorial Church. Remind us when the services are and stuff.
Sunday at 10:45 a.m. And because I am a millennial, I'm the same age as Jesus when he died. You can guarantee that you'll be out by noon because brunch is real. So, yeah, 10:45 a.m., 4101 West Adams Boulevard.
And I wanted to ask you, I have to ask you about the relationship piece. I've been doing, I do my opinionated friends take on relationships the third Monday of the month. And then the last Monday of the month, I have these relationship therapists. They're a married couple that do counseling. They're called the Black Marriage Project. They call it Black Marriage Mondays.
Oh, I love it.
So you're married.
I am.
You seem happy.
Yeah.
You're a pastor. You're an activist. You're busy. What can you tell us? What tips can you give us, Pastor?
Oh, Lord, I'm figuring it out. But I would say a couple of things. Remember your why you love this person. That if you can trust that, it goes a long way. Assume the best intention when in communication. I assume that my wife has not said anything that will intentionally try to hurt me, and that I won't say anything that will intentionally try to hurt her. If they are saying something that's intentionally trying to hurt you, you need a therapist. And then,
right.
And then forgiveness is a two-way street. It's not something that you hold against someone or something that you use to get people to manipulate them to do something for you. But forgiveness is also for yourself. And know that grace means that we all make mistakes. And the last thing I like to say, just for millennial folks, I've done a lot of relationship counseling for millennials. And I noticed a lot of my folks, people in my age range, there's a lot of arguments and frustrations and misunderstanding because we have lost the art of communication and disagreement and actually just talking to someone. And we use text message and emojis and Instagram and social media to try to communicate with your loved one. And I would say have a conversation. Look them in the eye. Feel their emotion. And think before you speak.
Talking with Pastor Eddie Anderson. He's our partner in politics today. And I want to, when we come forward, I want to amplify, if you don't mind, assume the best intention. Easier said than done, but so key. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Stand up and fight.
When news breaks, you can count on KBLA Talk 1580 for exclusive interviews.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Incredibly delighted to welcome Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson. Brother, welcome to the show.
As Tennesseans, as Americans, as people of conscience, our responsibility is to get proximate to this movement. This is the moment. Folks always wonder, is this time for me to start using my voice or speaking up or advocating for issues? This is it.
This is it.
The present moment where we are seeing the erosion of democracy, where we're seeing duly elected officials being expelled because we're raising the issue about the need to end gun violence and protect communities. And so for everyone who has ever had a thought that I need to do something, I need to be engaged, this is the moment to transform our cities, our counties, our states, and the United States of America.
Weekdays, weekends. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for the conversations that matter most to you. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar,
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
It's a Mindful Monday. Pastor Eddie Anderson is here. And you know I'm going to talk politics with him because he is very, very involved. Liberation theology. But at the same time, he's still a pastor.
Yeah.
And it's a Mindful Monday. We're talking relationships. So when you said assume the best intention, let's elaborate on that, because I think a lot of times we jump to conclusions. Oh, he didn't call me back. Oh, she didn't text me back. That means they're playing games. They're being trifling. Mm-hmm. They're with somebody else, and we go down that rabbit hole.
Absolutely. And when I say assume the best intentions, for me, the bottom line is I'm with this person because I love them and they make me better. And so I'm going to assume that they're going to be operating in a way which is in the benefit of both of our interests. And so I also will say with that comes ground rules, right? Don't be like waiting 3 days and be like, oh, he must be doing something nice. No, he's probably out there tripping. But you should create, like, hey, when I text you, if you don't text me back in 2 hours, I'm thinking something's crazy. Like, you should be upfront with that. So then assume if that window, that grace period is still there, that they'll get back, right? That they are not doing anything that will harm your relationship. And so being generous with them, and so they can be generous with you, and then you can create, hopefully, some understanding.
You're talking about being emotionally generous, giving them grace.
Absolutely.
But ground rules, give me an example of some other kinds of ground rules.
Ground rules. So if, I learned this from my father, that in the heat of an argument, it is not good to respond back and forth. Sometimes it's better to say, we're going to come back to this in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So that you're not doing that. Or don't go to bed mad at each other. Simple ground rules. Or talk about what you are good at. I'm not into gender roles as much as I am to efficiency and harmony. And so in my marriage, I buy the cleaning products. I, help clean. I don't cook as opposed to. We used to do the trade-off cooking. I got to be honest. My pastor can't be lying. I just DoorDash. But,
Right, so it's when it's her turn, she cooks. When it's your turn, we DoorDash.
Let's go. But I'm just,
hey, there's food on the table.
It's food, right? But creating those rules so you have an understanding. And basic also rules around, like, honesty. Like, what are the values that we're going to come back to, so that when we're violating those values, we hold each other accountable and realize if we both want this, than is work, marriage, and love, and relationships, and your boo, and cuffing season, and all of that. It's built upon you're looking for something in life, and you should know who you are. So bring all of yourself to that relationship, and if they can't deal with it.
Well, Pastor Eddie Anderson, as usual, it has been a pleasure talking with you.
It's been a pleasure being with you and all of you on the radio, and, stay unapologetically Black and truthful, and know that nothing can separate you from the love of the Creator. I say God. So get out your own way and let love flow through.
We might have to get a KBLA delegation and just roll up to church to your church one of these Sundays and just have a radio church moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
Pastor Eddie Anderson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's time for you to call me if you want to. It's always time for you to call me. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information